I will ask staff to start sharing slides.
All righty, here we go.
And
recording in progress.
Okay, great. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending this evening. This is a special meeting of the Portland Committee on Community Engaged Policing. Next slide. So we'll start with introductions. I will hand it over to our facilitators, Frida and Teresa, to lead us through introductions.
Great. Thank you so much, Dory. Hello, everyone. My name is Teresa, and I'm one of the two facilitators who are here to walk through this process of the special meeting on the bylaws. I'd like to formally appreciate all the PCCEP members who are here, city members, PPB, DOJ, and DOJ attendees. If we can have the PCCEP members quickly just introduce yourselves for the purpose of this meeting, that would be great. And it'll be, I'll start with Pastor Weisner.
Hello, everyone, and good evening to everyone who's in attendance. It's great to see everybody's face. I'm Pastor Robin Weisner. And I'll pass it on over to, I guess, back to you, Teresa, for the next one, or should I just pick out one?
You can pick somebody else, that's fine.
Okay, and then I must say I'm the co-chair of the full committee as well as co-chair of the settlement and policy.
Great, thank you.
Teresa, Tia.
Tia, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry for my technical difficulties. I'm so glad to be here. A few minutes late though. My name is Tia Palafox. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a member of PCCEP and a co-chair of the Community Engagement Subcommittee. Thank you. And I'll pass it to Ashley.
Thanks, Tia. Yep, Ashley Schofield. I use she, her, them pronouns. I am also a co-chair for the Community Engagement Subcommittee, and I'm passing through to my 1-year anniversary of joining PCCEP. Thank you. Gloria, how about you?
All right. My name is Gloria Canson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a member of the Settlement and Policy Agreement Committee, and this will make going on my 2nd year with PCCEP.
Woohoo!
Wonderful.
Byron, did I get you? Or did someone get you already?
No, thank you, Ms. Gloria.
Okay.
Byron Vaughn, PCCEP member, co-chair of another committee. Yes, it's coming up. So
yeah.
I'll pass it on to who has it?
Yeah, Leslie and Joseph.
Okay, Leslie.
Yeah, hi everyone. Leslie Martinez, PCCEP member. I joined at exactly the same time as Ashley, so I'm about to hit my 1 year with PCCEP as well. And my pronouns are she, her. I also serve on the community engagement and policy subcommittee. And I think the last one is Joseph.
Thank you. And we'll go to Joseph.
Hi, good evening. My name is Joseph Torres, and I am a PCCEP member.
Thank you, Joseph. Dory, can we have city folks introduce themselves also?
Yeah, so I'm Dory Grubinski, PCCEP project manager.
Great. Any other city employees that would like to introduce themselves?
Hi, everybody. Stephanie Howard here from the mayor's office. Good to see you all.
Thank you for
here, Stephanie.
And that might be everyone who needs to introduce themselves tonight. So we
Great.
And I'll
Excellent.
jump in real quickly, and I'm the other facilitator, Frida Davis here, pronouns she, her.
Thank you, Frida.
Yeah.
All right, then do we go to the next slide, Dory? I just want to say good afternoon to everyone and welcome to the special meeting on bylaws. As I mentioned, my name is Teresa, and I am one of the two facilitators who are here to help me today's purpose of walking through the recommended changes made by our committee on bylaws. I want to review our committee agreements that are really important for all of us as a reminder, to listen actively and respectfully, share airtime, be present and open to new information and perspectives, assume positive intent, respect each other, respect the group, speak your own truth, communicate directly, honestly, and respectfully, ask questions to clarify, call out bias, and be okay with ambiguity. Those are our community agreements.
And next slide.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask if the chat's up tonight, and do we hear from community members and who's here tonight?
Yes, the chat is open as always, and we would love to hear from community members in the chat. In the chat, yeah.
Okay, great. I try to keep notes of who's coming to the meeting, so thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Tia. Appreciate it. And just a quick overview of today's meeting. So we're here to review the proposed bylaw revisions. I do want to acknowledge members who work really hard to come up with these edits, and Ashley, Nathan, Celeste, Byron, and Leslie. Thank you for your hard work on this. We'll have a 10-minute break at 6:55, and then we'll continue with the bylaw review, and then debrief on, if we have time, we'll debrief on the steering committee feedback, and then we'll make it available for the public to provide comment. Thank you.
And next slide. Okay, so I appreciate everyone, our PCCEP members and the public being nimble with us here. I think those of us who have been following along know that PCCEP created a bylaws task force back right at the beginning of 2023 and took a good long time really thoughtfully working on these revisions, and finished up, I want to say early spring. And since then, we have been looking for meeting time to review their hard work. It's always a balance with PCCEP, trying to find, trying to balance the really pressing issues that come up and the stuff that PCCEP members are here to work on and represent the community on, but also balancing that with, the housekeeping and the stuff that, keeps us functional and able to do that work. So we identified this as a good meeting time, and so we appreciate everyone, again, being nimble and doing that with us. So just an overview, because it has been a while, of how this happened. So a task force of PCCEP members got together and worked on these revisions. As Teresa said, these are the members who worked on the revisions. Staff provided support and answered questions as needed, but many of the meetings were held completely independently amongst members. City attorneys were also consulted on some specific issues, including issues related to public meetings and public records law, and then PCCEP specifically requested some vetted legal language about conflicts of interest. Next slide, and please ask questions if they come up. So this meeting, the purpose is for the rest of PCCEP to review the proposed changes and adjust anything and then vote on whether or not to adopt them. And of course, we also hear public comment in this space. And next slide. So here are some highlights, and we will get to these things in more detail. So some of the language was just copy and pasted from the PCCEP plan, so it was consistent from plan to bylaws. Areas you'll see that are like the mission. We updated language about where PCCEP is administratively housed because that changed. And then a couple of finer points here about attendance policy, subcommittee structure, officer roles, and public meetings law. Okay, so that's my little intro spiel before I hand it over to our members. Any questions? Looking in the chat. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions about what I just spoke on. So now I will hand it back to the facilitators.
Thank you, Teresa. And so as we get ready to launch and hand this over to the members to dig into these bylaws and share what revisions have come up, I'd love to hear from the PCCEP members that, like, by the end of this meeting, what would make this meeting most successful in your eyes? And so just thinking about by 8 o'clock, how, again, what would make this meeting very successful for you? Thea, would you like to get us started?
Did you say Tia?
Yes.
Uh-oh. Okay, I'm thinking quickly. I would like, I would, of course, love agreement on how we feel the bylaws is completed tonight, but I know agreement isn't always possible. So hoping for some great feedback from everybody and the community who's here, and just that it's really clear.
Thank you, Tia. Ashley?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Tia was saying. I think, excuse me, the group has really worked really hard on this. I know it's gone through, sort of a lot of, not revisions, but just sort of lots of eyes looked on it. And I think, I think the outcome should be that we vote on these, we move forward. It's a great start. If things need to change, we can always come back to that. And that is in our power. And I think honestly, it's what is drafted right now is a good testament of just sort of the growth that PCCEP has had over the last year. Just speaking with my own observation, finally being here a year, but I know, things were off the rails a tiny bit. And so this, I feel like, is just sort of a stamp of like, we've really gotten our ducks in a row. Process is allowing us to move forward to doing the real work, which is the community engagement stuff and the settlement stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ashley. Pastor Robin, would you like to go next?
Thank you. And first, I'd like to say to this outstanding team, great job, who worked so diligently of their time, the time that they put into it to come together and do everything that Ashley just spoke of, show what it is that this comprising group is capable of moving and understanding. And structuring such, I believe the first meeting that we had discussing the bylaws was really kind of far out with a lot of thoughts, a lot of different ways, and people had so many thinking about how and what. But here, this group has come from the documents position and presented it to us as a group, and I applaud you. What do I think our success out of this shows again is we can do this in unity, working together with everybody, with respect to everybody, that we have took in consideration of how we are coming from so many different lanes and avenues. Tonight, I think, again, if the ideal is to be able to review the documents and then hopefully be very well respectful of listening to everyone community-wise, and for the community to really hopefully have the trust in who we are as a group and know that we have the interest of this as well. So that's my thought. And again, hats off to this outstanding committee who have worked so hard to bring it and present it back to us as this here document. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Robin. Ms. Gloria, would you like to share next? What would you consider success by the end of this meeting?
The fact that the committee got together, I call them revisionists, but the people who worked on the revision, the fact that they were able to get together and have as many meetings as they had and work and came up with a good document, at least I feel like it's a good document. I think that's a plus. If we move on from here, can't be anything but good.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gloria. What I'm hearing is that they are already successful.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Byron?
Thank you, Frida. The success I want out of this meeting is first and foremost, I want to thank Leslie and Ashley, Nathan, for working on this. Forgive me for not being able to. I don't know. I believe this new plan that we have right here will be a lot more clarity on what and how to do and be professional. So this is definitely will help me out a whole bunch. The success I already see out of it was we're going to be able to conduct business, be prompt, be ready, organized, and hopefully have a backbone and understand that these laws are here to bring peace and quiet and confidence and stability with work that we do. So the success is there. How do we unpeel this onion? And I feel like these bylaws are giving me clarity because I was half-stepping there a lot with rules and not knowing rules, and it felt, myself inadequate. I wasn't giving my 100%, my best. And so, yes, I definitely from here on out, I can see that things are serious. Hopefully I can be taken seriously, and we're going to move forward with this.
Thank you, Byron. Joseph.
Hi, sorry. What was the question again?
Yeah, the question is, by the end of this meeting, or how would you describe success by the end of this meeting?
I would say like success would be like just being open to like ideas and like leaving room for improvement. I think that would be like a successful meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. And Leslie?
Yeah, thank you. I think success would be a lot of people have already said it, but hoping to either adopt these policies as they are or amend them where they need to be in order to just facilitate our work and make it more like the whole purpose. And like when we were putting these together, it was really to make us more nimble and actionable as a committee. And so I hope that comes across. And if it doesn't, we make the changes that are needed for it to come across and for us to be effective as a committee.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. Are there any other members whom I have not called or has not spoken? Okay. Wonderful. It's really beautiful to hear this much alignment in your responses for the outcome of this meeting. So it's nice to know that we're on the same path and we're moving towards the same objective. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move to getting into the document. Is there, Leslie or Dory, will you be sharing how we will be going through the document? Or would you like me to share that?
Yeah, so I think it's up to Leslie, and whoever else will be engaging with this. I can share, and scroll down, or maybe it would be better if the facilitators did, I mean, I think it's a matter of how we want to work on it. Do any members have preferences? Leslie, any thoughts?
My only question when I was noticing the one that was like posted is that it was the clean copy, which is fantastic because it lets us see the bylaws as they are, but we do have the marked up copy. And there are some comments on the clean copy that reference things that we either struck out or that we changed that may not completely make sense to people. So that without that context of what we changed. So.
My thinking is that we would share the track changes version.
Okay.
And to do that, it would probably be the SharePoint.
Yeah, which I have open now if we want to go through it that way. It does have, you know, since the additional PCCEP members have been able to make comments, it has some additional comments there.
Great.
So that's just something to note.
So we'll have you share that if that's okay, Leslie, and I'll just ask PCCEP staff to make you co-host because I don't have that permission right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll share it as soon as I have sharing abilities.
Dory, may I say something before we go on to it? I'd just like to say that Barbara had a comment, and it was my same comment. What do the yellow Post-its mean? But if that's not the copy you're going to show.
Yeah, we're going to show the full track changes version, and we can post that one as well. But what we posted was like the text, the amended proposed text with the comments. Like the yellow Post-its are the comments. It's just how it saves as a PDF as like those Post-its on there.
Yeah.
The track changes is what we will present here. It can be somewhat hard to read, but we can certainly post this as well. When we save this as a PDF, it can look strange. But by request, we're happy to post this too.
Yeah, and if you hover over the boxes, you'll see the comment that is associated with that section. And that's what I was referring to when I mentioned that like there's some comments that seem kind of out of place, or like you're not sure what they're in reference to, and that's because they may be referencing something that was deleted or something like that, or moved to a different location. So I agree, going with the track changes makes the most sense, so that we can see what we're working with. So I guess I'll skip past the table of contents. But we did add a table of contents, and that was just to make it more easily navigate. Yeah, make it easier to navigate. And other than that, I think there's some comments here. So we did say we were going to go section by section, but I guess should we just address the sections where there are comments and where comments were placed? Like, how do we want to navigate that?
Yeah, Leslie, a couple of things. I'll jump in here, and then any PCCEP member, this is what I offer as a suggestion for you all to move through this document. That first off, if you could, on your view, if you could increase the view, so that it's just more legible for those who are viewing it on the shared screen, because not everyone might have it in front of them. Yeah, I think you can go even bigger.
Is that large enough?
Go one more.
Okay, I do think that that cuts off some of the comments of the comment, and that, I mean, I can scroll to the left, it's no problem, but.
Right. Secondly, I would recommend that you do go section by section, and then highlighting, sharing what the current one is, what changes were made, and then allow space for folks to have comment or question, and then make your vote. So those 4 things in order. So share share it as it's edited, share what edits were made, solicit questions, and then vote.
Okay. And then, and if I'm not mistaken, we can make edits in this like live for people to vote before we wrap up the section, right? So like if somebody has a question on a specific section, then that. Cool.
So are we, is that how you'd like to do it, Dory?
That is, yes, that is an option in as far as yes, you can either adopt section by section or in totality. Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to address Tia's question here, or once we get to that section? Because I think this was put into the bylaws, like, or into the table of contents, but not the specific section that it was referring to. And I want to make sure that it gets addressed.
Since it's at top of mind, it makes sense to address it right now. Again, these are suggestions just for flow of the meeting. So.
Okay. Tia, did you want to kind of expand on your question? So is the question just basically that the bylaw, that like the bylaws say that the subcommittee members must attend, but it doesn't say anything about the chairs or co-chairs of the overall PCCEP? Is that the question?
Yeah, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was sneezing, so I was trying to be quiet. I don't have a copy of it in front of me, but I remember reading it that I was looking for more of like expectations, I think, in the duties section. And I don't think there was really a lot of expectations listed. And for me, I was just looking at this a little bit more like a job description. So it might not be adequate. I think it didn't have even members listed in that, just that we were all required to go to full board meetings, and that in my expectation, I thought that co-chairs were required to go to our own subcommittee that we chaired, but that's not written out here. So
Okay.
I know it as an expectation.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind when we go to that section. Then thank you for expanding on that.
I also think that actually that is addressed, because in the attendance policy, it says that any subcommittee any member is signed up for is a part of the attendance policy. So certainly a co-chair is, signed up for their subcommittee. So I do think that that is addressed.
Okay, and attendance. Okay.
Yep. Cool. All right, so going on into the creation piece. Okay, so I mean, some of the track changes that you can see is just basically all of the purpose, the mission stays essentially the same. We did add one sentence to the very beginning of the last paragraph that reads, in order for PPB to effectively build trust with Portland's diverse communities, the community's concerns must be heard and meaningful action by PPB must be taken to facilitate this outcome. And we added this sentence to align to the PCCEP plan goals. So that was, other than like some minor like changing processes and the spelling of it, that was the only change to the purpose section. So with that said, I think we can vote on whether we approve section A.
Leslie, there's also part
Yes.
B in section
Part-
A.
Oh,
Excuse me, part B in section 1.
Okay. I didn't know how deep, how like section by section we were going. Okay, so if we want to approve the entire section, then the part B of section 1 is structure. And for that, we just clarified a little bit of language. So the sponsoring office continues to be the mayor's office. The office liaison is the mayor's senior community safety policy advisor. And that change was made just because PCCEP moved to the community safety division and not the prior division that it belonged to. And then the other change that we made is to clarify, again, in reference to PCCEP now belonging to the community safety division, that PCCEP advises mayor's office, the police chief, and the director of community safety of the community safety division. So again, because PCCEP moved from the EHR to the community safety division. Okay, so that covers all of the edits in section 1. I see a couple hands raised. Are we taking any questions from the community at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to let Stephanie go first because it might cover what I want to say.
Okay.
I was just looking here and I'm trying to remember, and I think Sarah Ames is here. But PCCEP doesn't advise the director of community safety division. So I'm not sure if that is if that's necessary to be in there, because the staff support are housed in community safety, but it's not, PCCEP's not an advisor to the director of community safety. Sarah, am I remembering something wrong? She may have stepped away.
No, that is correct, and I can see why. I think this was something that we discussed last year about shifting that, but yeah, you advise the police chief and the mayor police commissioner. You don't directly advise the director of community safety. I believe in the PCCEP plan, it says that you are supposed to meet with the Office of Equity and Human Rights regularly. I can double check that now, which may be why that's in there. Let me check that. I'll get back to you.
I think that's right. And I think, yeah, this was just updated for consistency, but it's actually not accurate. So we should just delete that.
Okay. Any objections to deleting that?
Well, can we get a solid finding from Sarah first?
Okay, well,
just for safety.
Yeah.
And so as we wait for that feedback, Barb, would you like to go ahead and go? Barbie, do you still have your question, or was it answered?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. I'm on two pieces of equipment and it's going to echo. Shoot. Okay, I think I got it. Sorry about that. My suggestion is, as much as I love Stephanie and believe that she's going to be here as long as our mayor is here right now, unless she decides she can do more good somewhere else, that since the PCCEP had gone through a period of time where there was a lot of turnover in the mayor's office in that position, I'm wondering if you guys want to name sort of something like that, either or the mayor's designee, or something to give you guys a buffer in between times if that position isn't filled. It was just a very frustrating thing for PCCEP at one point in time to feel connected to the mayor's office, as there was so much turnover in that position. That's my comment. Thanks for letting me make it.
Thank you for making it, Barb. Ashley, and just to note, since we are recording the meeting, that all of these suggestions and comments are being recorded, and in addition to that, folks are taking notes. So if I move on to the next person, just know that it's noted, and we might not discuss it in that moment. So Ashley, are you okay?
No, I meant to lower it last time. So
okay.
So it looks like Sarah has confirmed, and so I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Okay. So given that change and everything else, do we have consensus and approve Section A? Or sorry, Section 1.
Is there any dissension from Section 1? Ashley?
no, I think it looks really good. Something's not feeling great about the change currently, because I think I'm not understanding the difference between the OEHR office director and this now community safety policy, or
I can speak to that. Oh, or Stephanie can.
Go for it. No, Dory, go for it.
That's just a technical change. PCCEP used to be administratively housed in the Office of Equity and Human Rights, and in I think April of 2022, we got moved to the Community Safety Division.
I think the question, though, sorry, Ashley, I think you were going to clarify. I was just going to clarify what I thought your question was, but if you're going to say it, like, go for it.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I was just going to ask then, is the OEHR director, like, was that incorrect in the past bylaws that we advised them? That was always incorrect. Okay.
Yeah, because I think this is all tied to the PCCEP plan and the DOJ settlement agreement. Community Safety Division's not part of that.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
And I did just paste the excerpt from the PCCEP plan that mentions the equity and human rights into the chat. It says that the PCCEP will report directly to the mayor, police commissioner, and consult separately and at least quarterly with the director of the Office of Equity and Human Rights.
And Sarah, I think that was a version that was when it was still housed in OEHR, right?
Yes, I believe that.
So I think, and the PCCEP plan, that is being, was redrafted and has been put on hold so that, the group can focus on that stuff. But I don't think that's the intent of the PCCEP plan. So that'll be updated eventually.
And if PCCEP does take up revising the PCCEP plan, for example, which hasn't been done since we've moved, you all could put in language or suggest language that says, and meet separately, at least quarterly, with the director of the Community Safety Division,
And I'll just add, though, that the PCCEP plan is a mayor document. The mayor's office is responsible for developing that and for making that a guiding document for PCCEP. So yeah, so that was put on hold. We had a draft that I think is on the website somewhere that was revised to try to update, and then there was a lot of concern, and so we put a pause on that and have been working through these structural things, but we can revisit that to help clarify some of this.
Yeah, I think that was going to be my question, Stephanie. If that is a mayor's document plan and not something that PCCEP has authorship over, are we going to update it to reflect the fact that we are under the the Community Safety Division? And it sounds like you're saying that we're going to start that process back up.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I don't want to force that on you all, but I'm more than happy to revisit that, and we can put the latest draft there that we can sort of work from and get your feedback on. Sure.
Okay. Awesome. I think the team would appreciate that. So with that, hands or thumbs up if you approve, if you're a PCCEP member and you approve Section 1, thumbs down if you do not.
Leslie, actually, Gloria has her
Oh.
hand up. So if we
Oh,
can
sorry, I didn't see that.
address her question, yeah.
My question is, if we, can we add a piece where it says that we will meet with OEHR? I don't think we should take it out if all we're gonna do is discuss it later and then decide that that's something that we really want to do.
Well, we're not under OEHR anymore.
Yeah, I know that.
I see.
Isn't that something that we want to do? Don't we want to meet with the Office of Equity and Human Relations?
I think the confusion here is that that was language that was copied from the PCCEP plan.
Yeah.
And so what is here is outdated. And what you're referring to is actually language that's in the PCCEP plan. So that language about meeting with the director of OEHR isn't even in this document. So we're not actually discussing that right now. I think that was just put in the chat.
Let me say also, if it's helpful, Gloria, just for, it doesn't need to be in your bylaws. You're always welcome to reach out and communicate with OEHR. That doesn't need to be in your bylaws in order for you to do that.
Who is the director of OEHR? Stephanie?
I'm looking it up. I don't know off the top of my head.
Didn't know that we had one.
Let's see.
And as you look for that, from my understanding, and this is my newness to the group, so correct me if I'm wrong, that you all have 4 governing documents. And what I'm hearing is that that meeting with the OHER is in one of your governing documents, just not this one.
And it's the only reason it was there is because of the previous iterations, support was offered through the staffing of the OEHR. So all of that is to say it's no longer relevant to the structure of the group, but it is certainly on the table for you all to, you know, to being in contact or have information from them, certainly. I'm trying to find the director.
I think it's Jeff Selby, excuse me.
That's right. Yep.
And the interim director, and I just put that in there. And I also just wanted to know, I worked, you know, nonprofits in my past, and like bylaws are kind of like these the lawful stuff that we need to be like, this makes us legit, where like standing rules often are, and I know we're not a nonprofit, but standing rules is space that kind of like spells out like how we do that. And I kind of see the PCCEP plan as that. I know that's a mayor's document, but I just wanted to note that like the structure we're building here just maybe a little bit different than what we actually do. That makes sense.
Jeff Shelby, is he the interim?
Yeah, that's what the website says.
Okay, got it. I got my answer.
Ashley, did you also have your hand raised for? Oh, that was just to clarify. Okay. Any more questions on this section, or are we ready to vote? Awesome. Okay, so thumbs up if you approve the section with, you know, as it is, and thumbs down if you do not. And I guess it'll be majority rules, right?
Correct.
Don't think I can do a thumbs up reaction because I'm presenting, but
I think it's okay if we just ask for thumbs down.
okay, perfect. That was good. I like that. I didn't know if you needed to like record specifically, but there's
We'll
okay.
assume, yeah.
Cool. All right. So moving on to the section section 2, the city's rule. The biggest or the change to section 2 on the city's role was regarding the meeting summaries and the video recordings. So we do, so previously it only talked about minutes, but we do video recordings as well. So we wanted to basically codify in the bylaws that we are going to be posting that as well, so that the community at large can see. So meeting summaries and video recordings from all PCCEP and PCCEP subcommittee meetings, previously it only said PCCEP meetings, will be published to the website. Videos will be posted within 5 business days, and meeting summaries will be posted within 10 business days after the meeting date. So the biggest issue, or so the biggest change there is that we differentiated between the videos. Previously, it was just the meeting summaries were posted within 10 days. Videos, since we can produce them faster, 5 days, and then the summaries 10 days. And there was a question on the current, so this wasn't a change that we made, but there was a question about the section also references agendas. So the agenda being posted a minimum of 10 business days before a PCCEP meeting. And the comment there is that currently the agendas haven't, like 7 business days has been kind of the norm there. And requesting an edit to, rather than 10 business days before a PCCEP meeting, 5 business days before a PCCEP meeting. So open to questions and discussion around those, the standing change and the proposed change.
I had a quick one, Leslie, and maybe this is something I should have said in the notes when we were sort of doing that together. I'm just curious if like this section, and this is just like for formatting, and it could, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but like that part where it says about agendas and meeting summaries. Actually, never mind. I rescinded my comment. Never mind. Ignore me. Move on.
Okay.
All right, Miss Gloria.
I had a question. I wanted to ask, who posts our minutes? Is that you, Doran?
It's some combination or
You and Shamir?
designation of PCCEP staff. Some member of PCCEP staff, sometimes me. I do not write the notes anymore.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought maybe we should get some feedback from the person who actually has to do the work on whether 5 days work for them or 10 days. Because see, we're not doing it.
I'm glad that you asked that, actually. I think 10 days is great. We typically we beat that standard for sure. But sometimes when it comes to prioritizing, like doing more urgent work for the committee, it's nice to have the flexibility to put record keeping on the back burner. I also would say, in terms of coordinating with volunteers and making sure that agenda setting is a collaborative process that you are able to drive, the 10 business days for agendas, I don't find to be attainable. I do think an amendment there would be more attainable. Because if you think about 10 business days, that means that you as committee members don't have time to respond to the content of a meeting the week before. And oftentimes that is what happens. People are inspired by the work of their fellow committee members or things going on in the city or things like that. That's what I find in terms of how you all are working as a group.
But Dory, are you suggesting it's too much time because of that?
No, 10 business days is
I think we're talking about kind of 2 different areas, or just to clarify where we're talking about. So the agendas will be posted a minimum of 10 business days before the PCCEP meeting. As you noted, Ashley, it's been a struggle to get even 7 days sometimes. So I think Dory is responding to that, saying that she agrees, and maybe 5 business days if it's if everybody's in agreement, amending this to 5 business days for the agendas to be posted would be good. And then the separate thing is about the meeting summaries. I know it's a little confusing because they both say 10 days, but the separate thing would be the business
Thank
summary.
you.
So,
Well,
sorry.
videos will be posted within 5 days, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And meeting summaries within 10 days.
Yeah.
That's good.
And the videos are generated automatically, if I'm not mistaken. So the 5 days is really just more of like a,
That's good.
yeah, to give us some flexibility there or have it codified. Tia?
You're muted.
Maybe I'll just keep it unmuted since there's no noise in my place. In reading it in a paragraph form, it was more challenging for my brain. So I did like bullets for myself. It's agendas are 10 days, minutes are 10 days, and videos are 5 days. But I was thinking that after reading Ashley's message, but then Dory spoke of that before, I was able to suggest at least a week. As I invite the community, I noticed that if it is within 5 or less days, I feel like it's really frustrating for people because they already have plans made and comment that that was just too quick to get to our meeting. So I would love to see it, hopefully, if we can, within the week or a week. But 10 days is awesome.
Does
But
5 business days make a difference, Tia?
maybe not. But yes, at least 5 days.
Yeah.
I think we're brushing it, but I don't see too many community members I invite tonight,
but I think there's a difference of like posting an event, which I think, you know, we do a really good job of like being a month in advance. Like we're going to have, take a special meeting, but we're going to have the regular meeting here. We're going to have the community engagement subcommittee here. So I think people being able to plan, like wanting to go to a certain meeting, I think we do a good job there. But as you know, Tia, like being co-chairs and like, hey, full-time jobs and then a couple other community event things that I'm involved in. Like, I'm just, you know, I'm trying to like, let's be practical about, we are volunteers, we are doing our best. We do not get paid really for this. You know, we you know, I think this is a process so that PCCEP members feel like there's some, you know, some flexibility to you know, to make this happen in their lives. And, you know, and I know that as a public, that might not sound good enough, but it's kind of the reality as a member, like, wow, this is a lot of work, always trying to get ahead of the agenda. And I think as a group, we can just get better at making a work plan. Like, yeah, and that's the month we're going to start talking about this. And so we can do ways, but I think like, and the lawful, you know, like keep us in a structured way. I think being a little more flexible with the minimum of posting, I think would be really helpful, not just for us, but for future PCCEP committees.
Well, that would have been like the first bullet point for myself, is that the date was already posted prior to the agenda. I didn't think about that. I was thinking agenda and when the next date is at the same time, but so I think 5 is good. Since we post the date at the meeting that we're having for the next date. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I do agree that shortening it and giving us a little more flexibility makes sense. My concern about like shortening it to 5 days is, does it give the community enough time for community input on our agenda topics? That would be my only concern.
Well, input isn't like if they had feedback, we would change it. Cause I think, you know, but still, and we can still talk about it at the meeting, I guess, you know, like.
True. Yeah. No, not necessarily changing the agenda, but more like community comment, the public comment towards the agenda items that we have.
I think so, but I don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Byron, you have-
Byron.
Leslie, were you talking about people who need 5 days to read it, or being up in 5 days for people who attend the
Yeah.
meeting, or people who don't attend the meeting?
So like people that can't attend the meeting but want to submit their public comment regarding our topic. So like, you know, let's say somebody has a full-time job as well, works nights, can't make our meeting, reads our agenda. If we post the agenda 5 days before, do we feel that's a reasonable amount of time for somebody that can't make our meeting but still wants to contribute their input and their their comment?
And my question, my pushback would be saying people who are at the meeting, seeing this meeting, can advise other people to get them to look at it, who've already seen it. I don't want to sound like, what I'm trying to get at is people who are at the meeting are seeing the same thing we're seeing. So people who haven't seen them, they can direct them to where it is and let them know. And if they do miss it the first time, they know they can get it the second time around. So 5 days, I guess I'm not really asking or answering a question, just saying that I think the 5 days is good if everybody does their part and getting it out. And
Okay, let's make that. So I think we heard most people feel like 5 days is a reasonable amount of time. Do we have any thumbs down on? So I'll make the edit as a track change.
Not
do we
for
feel?
that.
Yeah, that's the change we're talking about.
Oh, I see. Somehow I thought Byron was talking about the video time because he said people have already seen it.
No, we're talking about the agendas posting 5 days before the PCCEP meeting. And it is a minimum of 5 business days. So maybe if we have a very important topic that we want to get a lot of community input, we can make a concerted effort to extend that time frame and make sure that the agenda is posted ahead of time.
Yeah.
So, okay, with that edit in place and the other edits, Byron, did you still have something you wanted to?
No, I didn't. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So in that case, if we have consensus, just any thumbs down if there's any disagreement on the section changes and majority. Dory, based on quorum tonight, how many thumbs downs would we need to like call a section not agreed upon?
3, I think.
Okay.
Or,
So and
wait, no, I think 4.
okay.
Yeah, is majority rules. So yeah.
Okay, so anything less than 4, anything 4, anything less than 4, we can assume that that section is approved.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So then moving along to section 3, frequency of meetings. So the
I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah.
Leslie, we're gonna go ahead and pause here and take a break before we jump into section 3.
Okay.
And so let's take 10 minutes and then we'll come back at 7:15.
Hey.
Have to take a break. We were like in like a mood, like we were in a flow. Sorry.
I think yeah, we can ask the group what they're feeling, maybe. I know it can be hard to get in this
yeah, like we're finally like I think we were in a flow, which is hard with these editing projects.
Totally.
You know, and Leslie, you're doing amazing. So I don't know. I mean, I get it. We've been on the call for an hour, but also wanted to lend time to the steering committee debrief, and you know, want to give that time, but
for sure.
Yeah, I would say as far as our time is concerned, we will not get through this document. And that is, we just know we won't, and we will have to find the spot in which we will be okay with pausing and resuming at another time. Because even if we go all the way through this, we're literally only on section 3, and there's like 16 sections. And so
does it keep going? I mean, does the rest of the group want to keep going? Because
yeah,
I think our intentions were at the end to be done with this so that we can move on and vote on it. I think, you know, that's definitely what I said I wanted to happen.
Yeah.
And I really need to put this, you know, we need to talk at this. Like,
hey, look here, man, you got my vote. Reading it or not reading it.
Yeah.
I believe it all benefits me in any way it looks, shape, or form. So
Can we just take a break if we need to? I have to go to the bathroom really quick.
Well, yeah, we can take a break. I mean, yeah, we can take a
Yeah,
break.
we can we shorten it to 5 minutes?
Yeah,
Yes.
Right back.
5 minutes. Yeah, see you all back.
3 minutes.
2 minutes.
Okay.
Bathroom break. Okay.
Yeah.
7:10 or so. Okay.
Yeah.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Okay, so picking up where we left off before the break, the frequency of meetings. So the only change made to this section was that that if there is any change, it has to be approved by the committee, and that was really to prevent by the entire PCCEP committee, and that was really to prevent just randomly having meetings canceled on us, which I know had been a concern in like previous iterations of PCCEP and just some of that stuff. So that was the only change made to this section. That we added the sentence, any recurring deviation will be voted and agreed upon by the full PCCEP committee in reference to PCCEP meeting at least once a month. Any questions on this change or comments? Okay, I don't see any. So oh, yes, yes.
I think this is where I was wanting to interject. We also have the subcommittee meeting that we're assigned to. So would that make it 2 times a month? No.
Okay.
No.
No.
That's optional.
This is like a baseline floor, like PCCEP must meet. It's, unlikely that this would be the meeting frequency, but it's like if PCCEP doesn't meet at least once a month, then you're in violation of your bylaws.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Like if we decide to go on summer break or something, which we will not do. Not happening. Okay. Any additional questions, comments before we move to a vote? Okay. So without that, thumbs down. Again, if you agree, you don't need to do anything. But if you disagree with the section, thumbs down. We'll give that a moment. All right. Cool. So no thumbs down. This section is approved. Next section is around membership and term. The changes that were added is that we added the link to the Oregon Government Ethics Law Guide for Public Officials, just to make sure that everybody has access to it and is able to read it when they are onboarded to PCCEP and review the bylaws. And then the other piece was added from the PCCEP plan, which is the statement that reads, PCCEP will be comprised of a diverse group of 13 mayoral appointed volunteers who are committed to improving systems-based police/community relationships and ensuring and exceeding constitutional policing standards. PCCEP asks the mayor's office to fill vacant seats within 30 days. And again, that was pulled from the PCCEP plan. Moving on from that, we clarified the total membership. So it's a total of 13 seats, 13 adult seats, and for 2 years, and 2 youth seats for 2 years. In terms of terms, so rather than the terms being staggered, this is section 4B. In terms of the terms being staggered, the terms will all start on September 1st of each year, unless the appointee is filling the remainder of an unexpired term. And so this was done to align with the start and end times, to align the start and end times to improve efficiency. Gloria, I see your hand raised.
Yes, can you move it up a little bit? I want to go back up to this part where it says system-based police community relationship. What does that mean? System-based. Are they talking about the city of Portland?
Systems-based police/community relationships. So it's talking about the established police, systems-based police, and the community relationship. I think the slash is a little bit misleading there. Yeah, this was pulled from the PCCEP plan.
I think the way I read that, Gloria, is systems-based police community relationships would speak to improving the larger like
Grammar
structure,
of the city
rather
structure.
than like say like an alternative to like just like say without that adjective, it could be like just police community relationships, like, oh, I like this police officer, I know, like that's improving relationships. I think the idea is like PCEP is supposed to improve the system of that impacts those relationships on a broader scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think the slash is kind of confusing.
Yeah,
I think it can be its own, like it can be comma, right? To make that argument, like to make that message clearer.
No, because it's the relationship between police and community. And in any case, this is copied from the PCEP plan. So this is language that we
I
do
know.
not. Yeah.
I remember seeing it, and when I saw it the first time, I wanted to ask that question, but I didn't. So now I have an opportunity, and I understand it better. I'm good.
Okay. All right, jumping back down to section 4C, term limits. Nothing was changed there, so that stays as is. There was another section, section D, that relied on alternates. So we decided to remove this section altogether because to date PCEP has not needed alternates. So we wanted to simplify the bylaws and the structure, and determined to delete this, and then if needed, revise it in the future. And oh man, this is a lot of stuff in this section. I thought we could go through like the entire, through, you know, D or F, but yeah. So then quorum stays the same, simple majority, 50% plus one or greater number of seats. So and then voting, basically the changes made on section 4E regarding voting are just kind of inspired by that ORS 174.130. Not sure if I'm saying that right. But we want to have a majority of the members at the meeting. That's the gist of that. The change to the voting is really just that members can vote via teleconference. And while PCEP, previously it stated that PCEP is not required to administer a formal vote to make recommendations, we have our edit here is that PCEP is required to administer a formal vote to make recommendations, meaning no member can make individual recommendations. We have to, as a committee, agree on a recommendation that we put forth to the mayor. So we made that change. And then also regarding voting, we codified that the public will be, providing comments. So added the sentence, the public will be given the opportunity to provide comments prior to any substantive vote except for election. All right, so that was the gist of the changes to section 4 about membership and term. Any questions from anybody on that section? I'm keeping an eye on the hands, so if as I go through a section you have questions or something, you can raise your hand and I'll stop. Cool. So with that, we can put it to a vote. Again, if you agree, don't have to do anything. Thumbs down if you do not approve this section. Okay. Calling that section approved. All right. Moving over to section 5, general operating procedures. So disclosure of conflicts of interest. There were some changes made to this section. So I'll just read from where the changes start. PCEP members must announce the nature of a conflict of interest orally or in writing each time the issue giving rise to the conflict of interest is discussed or acted upon. And that edit was just to clarify what we meant there. The previous language was kind of confusing. We also went ahead and clarified, added this paragraph here: conflicts of interest as defined by the Oregon government ethics law guide for public officials. A public official is met with a conflict of interest when participating in official action which would or could result in a financial benefit or detriment to the public official, a relative of the public official, or a business with which either is associated. Actual conflicts of interest are those where the action would have a financial impact, while potential conflicts of interest are those that could have a financial impact. Further, the law prohibits financial impact on all household members and relatives, as broadly defined to include parents, spouses, children, siblings, step-family members, and in-laws. So that was just to make it very clear what a conflict of interest is. And I tried to read that slowly because I know we have our interpreters, so one should be mindful. And then we just clarified when the conflict of interest must be announced. So the member must disclose the potential or actual conflict of interest and the nature of the conflict at each PCCEP meeting in which the conflict arises. If the member has an actual conflict of interest as defined by the guide, they must abstain from any decision or vote on the issue. If the conflict is only potential after disclosure, the member may participate in deliberation and vote. So regarding that, conflict of interest section continues. The project manager will record and keep all conflicts of interest that are announced during each meeting. And we added language to clarify where, and that is in the meeting summaries. Members may review the guide for public officials for further guidance on conflicts of interest and ethical questions, which again is why we linked it up at the top. Going forward, if a conflict of interest is identified, and we just clarified the language there, the staff will work with the individual, mayor's office and PCCEP members to mitigate the conflict of interest and develop a plan for how individual will engage or not engage with subject matter in future meetings. So that was to clarify how we could potentially resolve a conflict of interest, and then the notification process of that. And that ends our conflict of interest section. We did remove a clause that said must alert, the conflict of interest, or staff must alert the mayor's office and PCCEP members of the instance as soon as the instance is known. And that was just because it was redundant. We've stated several times that we will be doing that, so we removed that clause. Any thoughts, comments, questions regarding conflicts of interest and how we've addressed it?
Great job, I think.
Thanks. All right, thumbs down if there's any conflict that I've done with this section. I'm getting delirious, sorry.
Leslie, you still have a B of this section.
Oh, section B. Oh, yeah, it was just so long that I wanted to focus on the conflict of interest before I go into the facilitation. Okay, so going into the facilitation piece of that section, PCCEP members will decide how their meetings will be facilitated. So we really kept most of it the same. We just added a little bit of clarification on the facilitator role. Previously, it only stated that the facilitator would operate with a culturally informed perspective. We also added trauma-informed, recognizing that this is a very triggering subject for a lot of people, so we wanted to make an effort to in our bylaws to address that. And then also noting that a facilitator should be kind of a neutral party and should not be an advocate of any issue, any interest group, just for, fairness is not the right word, but like transparency or so with that, we did have a question on the use of trauma informed and whether that is, so the comment reads, quote, operates using a culturally informed and trauma-informed perspective. Is this guaranteed? Adding potentially to the best of their ability. How do we feel about adding that kind of qualifier rather than saying who operates? Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Right. In other police advisory groups I'm in, we just have not guaranteed trauma informed because there is so much trauma, but we state it's more of a brave space and we're trying our best to keep it as safe as possible. So I just want to make sure that, I don't know. I mean, I want to guarantee trauma informed, but I don't know if we can.
There's a comment that is noting trauma aware versus trauma informed.
That sounds good. Okay, let me look
So
at
maybe I'm not sure if that addresses what you're saying.
That could, I mean, trauma informed. Are we in trauma informed? You know, like, what does that mean? I think I know, Tori, you know, we've been talking about this for a while, and Barb, I know you've given me some good insight on that too, of just like, we can't make something completely trauma-free. That's not in our, but so like, I get what you're saying, Tia, like, how do we kind of relate that humbleness in this paragraph? Like, we'll try our best, but
I do want to know
too. Oh yeah, maybe you're noting the same thing I'm noting, Dory. So go ahead.
Yeah, this is about the facilitators.
Yes.
Facilitation,
like professional facilitators that we would hire, like somebody that we would hire to facilitate.
And it's not saying that we would guarantee a trauma-free or hopefully a trauma-informed meeting space with their help, but we could also ask our facilitators who are present to speak on, you know, whether they are practiced in using a trauma-informed perspective. And
yeah, is this even fair?
That's true.
Yeah. I would love to.
Yes.
Are we being asked that question right now?
Well, just if you think this is like, my question wouldn't be, are you trauma informed? It would be more like, do you think that this is a fair expectation? If like, yeah, just from your perspective.
Yeah, I'll just share from my perspective, and Teresa, I'll turn it to you to share as well. As a hired facilitator, I think that it is a fair expectation for your facilitator. If this is what you're needing for the space to facilitate the space, the facilitator should be using a culturally informed and trauma-informed perspective. So yes. And that, and just to add to that, and that is because you are literally paying someone to come into the space who has a particular perspective in order to maybe not guarantee a safety of a group, but ensure that if harm is done, they are able to steer that group back.
On track.
Great point.
Sorry,
I'll just underscore what Afrida said and support it.
Okay. Thank you for that. So there's a couple of things that we removed.
Have we moved on? Because my hand is still up.
Sorry, Gloria. Yes, you are completely right.
Okay. Well, you know what? I like it as it stands. It sounds right. Because at first, I was picking up that someone must have thought we were referring to ourselves. But I knew that this was a professional that we hired. And I would hope, as Alfreda said, that they would already be versed in culturally informed and trauma informed. And I don't think we need that to the best of their ability, because we're hiring the best, hopefully.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I think that takes us through section, all of section, the general operating procedures, which cover the disclosure of conflicts of interest as well as facilitation. Well, same thing. Thumbs down if you, vote against approving this section. No action necessary if you approve this section. Give it a moment. All right, sounds good. Dory, I'm having trouble finding. In the interest of time, and because we do want to get through everything, there is one more section that I think is worth discussing and like closing out, and that is the public meeting law requirement. And I'm trying to find it right now.
Isn't it like the second last one?
That might be right, because I think we moved it around. So is there any is anybody opposed to jumping to that section and at least discussing that bit before we close out reviewing this? And then
Yeah, no, not opposed. I think that's a good idea.
All right. Okay, we'll move that.
Public meetings.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the section.
Sorry, went a little too far. So this is section 15, or 15. Rather than public meetings and records, we've relabeled the section meetings and records. And so the change here is that prior to this, so the unedited version reads, meetings of the PCCEP and subcommittee meetings are open to the public and will be conducted under provisions of Oregon Public Meeting Law. So that was the prior. We have amended this to state under provisions that are generally consistent with Oregon Public Meeting Law. The city will provide notice and will post meeting materials, see city roll above. The main reason to make that change is now we're generally consistent with Oregon Public Meeting Law. And if you're familiar with that, that requires us to only be able to meet, to not be able to meet outside of the public space. And that makes it very hard for us to conduct business and kind of move things forward. So the idea here is we would be generally consistent with this law, but would still have the option to, not vote. We wouldn't be able to vote, but we would be able to meet and move things forward.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest change here. And then we deleted the section that says the project manager will provide at least 7 days notice to the public regarding the dates, times, and locations of all PCCEP meetings. Agendas and minutes from all PCCEP meetings will be published on the city website within 10 business days after the meeting date per ORS 192-670, parentheses 1. PCCEP members can participate through telephone conference calls, requests for any other electronic communications means, require approval from the project manager and city attorney with city attorney consultation. And that was just, we deleted that, but moved the majority of it to the city role. And then the last bit is just clarifying how members can participate. So we added the statement, PCCEP members and community members may participate in meetings through telephone conference calls or video conferencing when available. When meetings are held by video conference, PCCEP will ensure that a telephone/audio line is available and will post videos of the meeting and transcripts, if available, online. Accessibility is important to PCCEP and committee and community members may request accommodations from PCCEP staff. So those were the edits that we made. And I see that, sorry, I was distracted by a comment. There's a comment that people don't see the deleted part.
I can see it. I mean, I can see it, and it's
Okay.
straight through with blue. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So then the remaining section is largely unchanged except for the last sentence, which reads members are not allowed to deliberate toward a decision over email, as public participation needs to be guaranteed through that process. That last sentence now reads, members will not deliberate on any items to be voted upon over email, as public participation needs to be guaranteed through that process. So while there can be discussion about other things, nothing that will be voted upon can be discussed outside of the public environment. Question, I see Tia's hand raised.
I feel like I keep having questions as you talk, but the first question I had was, when you talk about accessibility, I'm thinking about ADA and people with disabilities and people who speak other languages. So I'm wondering if it's too much to ask or to talk about here, people who are deaf and hard of hearing, people who are blind, people who don't speak English. Has all that been thought of here? And are we doing our best in those areas?
Great question. Do you feel like this last sentence, accessibility is important? Committee and community members may request accommodations from PCCEP staff doesn't fully cover it?
Yes, it does. Is that what we have in mind? And then should we let the community know that what we have available, or is it just assumed that we can do everything?
Is it posted on the website how we can accommodate accessibility needs? Yeah. Dory?
It is. And if anyone has suggestions for anything additional that we can or should provide, please get in touch with me. But we do have an explanation of the accommodations that we currently provide and things that are available by request.
Thank you. I'll look that over too.
Okay, with that, any additional, Sarah, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I do. Hi, I'll be more friendly and turn on my camera. Hi, I just have a concern about the last part about not deliberating toward any items to be voted on over email. As I know, I mean, I get the intent, and your intent is to have these, fulsome conversations in public meetings where people can witness them. I'm just a little bit concerned, this draft of the bylaws, you may have emailed it back and forth among the group. It wasn't a quorum, you want to be able to do that kind of thing, and you're going to be voting on this, right? So I just want to make sure you don't accidentally write something that could be interpreted as, again, binding you in a way that you have found difficult to work within. Because one of the things that you really want to be able to do is to do some work outside of the meetings without precluding the full public conversation about the issues that you're working on. So it's a balance, and I think this might be interpreted as more restrictive than you want.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. That's really important, I think. And I mean, I'm wondering if we even need that last part, because we already sort of stipulate earlier in the document that we can't vote without a quorum. Like, we can't, there is no voting. So I see that, I see what Sarah's saying, because it's a thin line, I think, between us deliberating and having a conversation that might get us to a vote, but more like just informing us of how to maybe not even get to a vote, right? I think that what the intent is for us to do work, to work on drafts, to sort of make process decisions so that when we come to the public, you know, we can have a space that's really dedicated to getting their input. So I don't know, I'm just wondering if we even need that last part. I'm wondering if Sarah or Dory has any thoughts on that.
This last section completely.
Yeah, that last section, since we kind of already clarify it early in the document that we won't be able to vote without quorum and within the public space without the public being there. So, yeah.
You also do note that you'll have public comment and involvement before any decision is made up above.
Yeah.
If you are going to keep this, you would probably need to kind of, you know, start edging it with a quorum of members won't be deliberating, you know, will not be deliberating on items we voted on. I mean, deliberating has a specific meaning under the public records law, so it just gets a little bit fraught, and I think that you could probably cut that, and we understand that PCCEP intends to do its business in public.
Yeah.
Involve the public is in keeping with your mission.
Can we delete all of that last sentence then?
Yes.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yes. And
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Any additional thoughts? I think that's the last, that takes us through all of section 15. So if we feel ready for it, we can vote on it, on this section at least. And then circle back to the remaining sections at another time. Thumbs down if not voting for it. Okay. So then in that case, the section is approved. Oh, there's a hand raised. Okay, the hand went down. So, okay, great. So in that case, I will mark this section as approved and hand it back to Dory.
Great. So the way that you all have approached this, the sections that you've approved are effective now. So the nice thing about that is that you can put a pin in the bylaws again and take them up when they fit in again. I know, again, like this meeting, we fit it in when we can, and so appreciative of the work that not only went into creating these revisions, but also just bearing with these meetings, because I know these documents are a lot to pour over and try to understand, and I really appreciate everyone's work in doing this. So I think it's up to PCCEP. We have about 15 minutes left here, and we have some time reserved for public comment, of course. You could, there's a question in the chat as to whether DOJ needs to approve the bylaws. Nope, DOJ is not a part of the PCCEP bylaws. There are documents, governing documents of PCCEP that, of course, the DOJ is involved with, such as, of course, the settlement agreement. But the bylaws is internal to PCCEP only. So this is really in the hands of members. Yeah, so anyways, so I think we can stop sharing this now, and it's up to you, PCCEP, if you want to do a little debrief on the steering committee meeting, or if you want to just have public comment and call it a day. Ashley?
Yeah, sorry, Leslie, I was following along, but like what sections did we not sort of officially approve?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we did not approve yet sections 9, sorry, section 6 through
6, okay.
6 through
14.
Through 14, yeah.
There are more section numbers than there are sections.
Yeah, I think that there's some, but this one was approved. So I'm
so
approved.
Okay.
And then is there any sections after this section 15?
Just one more.
One, and it's like a sentence that says,
Can
I
we just
mean,
vote on
I know, right? It's like one sentence.
Yeah, it's
So
fine.
it's like 6 through 14 and 16 are the
Yeah.
only sections that have not been approved.
Can we just approve 16 though right now, since it's pretty straightforward?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Anybody else? I know Gloria has her hand up.
Yeah, Gloria.
Yeah, but we can go on and go with 16, but on our agenda, we said we were gonna allow the last 15 minutes for any kind of community input. I think we ought to stick with that.
I agree. So if there's no thumbs down, the section 16 just reads amendment of bylaws, one sentence. PCCEP may vote to amend these bylaws. Amendments must be consistent with PCCEP plan. Any thumbs down on that? Nope. Okay, then we have approved it. And yeah, we just have the sections that Afrida mentioned. And I agree with moving to public comment.
It looks like, Gloria, do you have anything else you
I
want to
don't.
share?
Let me take my hand down. But it was an
Alright.
excellent job, Leslie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, Leslie.
and the
Thank
committee.
you.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks to the
It was mostly
committee.
Leslie, let's give the
All
credit.
right.
No.
It looks like we have one comment so far. Barbara, yes. Oh, you're on mute, Barbara.
Okay, well, that was a lot of work. Thank you. But the thing is, I have this document I downloaded from the agenda, but then, and I was reading with that because it's easier for me to move around and read than to read on the screen. But that doesn't have everything that you did, so I got really lost and it went really fast, so.
Yes, sorry about that. We did try to mention that at the very beginning, that we were going through the document with the tracked changes to note where the changes were made, but that a clean copy was what was provided on the website. So sorry.
Okay, well,
yeah.
but that, okay, well,
I will
Okay.
upload the track changes as well.
will you do that, please? Thank you. Yeah. I feel like that's important to see both things. And it went so fast, I didn't realize what was happening, so. Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Barbara.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that I appreciate that you all want to get work done and move fast and not be bogged down, but this could have, I mean, a kind of negative impact on community input if people don't have access to these documents and stuff. And then if you go through them really fast in a meeting, it's kind of like, why am I here even, kind of like, so. And
Yeah,
I
that's a
read
good point.
English, my
Yeah.
first language, so just saying, yeah. Thank you
Great
for
point.
listening.
Maybe going forward, we can post both versions, a clean copy and a tracked changes
Yeah,
copy,
and
and like make it very clear.
yeah, and if you could also, I know you do a lot of work and it's hard, a lot of things to keep up with, but if we could know when things are coming out, like when you're posting these things, it would be really helpful, like, because you have email for people announcing meetings and stuff. And if we could know that, then we would know when to look. Otherwise, I could look on the computer and not see anything. And then 5 minutes later, somebody could post something and I wouldn't know, So it just would be helpful. I know I hate to add to your work, but would just be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And it looks like we have Barb also who's raised her hand, and then we have Ashley.
Hey y'all, you got a lot of good work done and I really, really appreciate that and I'm really glad. I do have concerns that you've approved part of a document and not a document in its entirety, but it is what it is, and moving forward is much more important than staying stagnant, and I definitely get that. I put in some public comment and I would love it if somebody lets me know if or when you all do get it, because I had a lot of frustration around trying to get ahead of this. On Sunday, I emailed the info at PCCEP, blah, 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 and asked about the bylaws. I looked last week on the website and all I could find was the agenda. And I know you all are working hard, but if the things are like there, but just so close and we can't get access to them, it just causes frustration. So I would really appreciate it if staff or somebody would reach out to me and let me know how to find documents in between meetings that haven't been posted where the meeting is. And I really appreciate all the hard work you guys have done. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Barb. Ashley?
Yeah, thank you. I know I just wanted to make a comment or ask a question to the public, I guess. Again, sort of coming through the 1-year cycle on PCCEP and sort of in remembering that beginning time when we were so stuck in a process, because whatever the word we were using, revamp, restart, whatever that was to PCCEP, you know, like we've come strides from that. And I just really want to give props to the staff who I feel really support me as a member, do their best. Like there's just a lot of work. So I guess my question to the public, if you don't mind, is do you see that improvement of like having more, you know, like, or was there a time before last year that this process was better and getting you the documents and getting you all the things you need to be prepared for the meeting? Was that better before this last year, or do you think it's gotten better? Because I think, you know, perfection is, in my opinion, it is a tool of white supremacy and we'll never get there. And we have to, and I know no one's saying that, I'm sorry, no one is saying we need to be perfect. I'm just saying we're trying, we're making steps, and just getting a little feedback on like, are you seeing any of that improvement in the past year? If anybody's available.
Thank you, Ashley, for that question. It looks like Barb has her hand up and then Barbara. So we'll go with Barb and then Barbara.
Compared to when this reboot started out, yes, Ashley, of course, there's been a lot of improvement. Unfortunately, compared to when PCCEP restarted in 2019 and where we were when the mayor so nicely put the pause on PCCEP, there's still some frustration. And I was involved in the behavioral health subcommittee and trying to get agendas posted ahead of time and things like that. But one of the things we did do was we embedded the documents, the links to the documents that we were going to be talking about into the agendas. So it made it easier for people to find them, I think. And since I'm not sure how I've been missing this information right now, I can't answer, you know, if it's right in front of my face and I've been missing it, then yes, it's even so much better than when you guys started. It is better no matter what. This is great. And I'm sorry that I'm tough on you guys, but there's a reason for that. And it's not personal, it is systemic. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Barb. Barbara?
Yeah, I think things are like fabulous compared to how they were. So, you know, that's great. But having been around a little while and seeing the things that happen with the city and everything, I would like the bylaws written, not assuming that that you're going to always have the staff that you want. You know, like right now, things are really, really good that way with the support, the hybrid meetings. I mean, things are just wonderful. But yeah, I think that in the long run, you have to assume that, you know, you can have different mayor, different people, you know, and things may not always be as good. That's the only reason for having it in the bylaws and stuff. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. That makes a lot of sense for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Ashley, I really appreciate that question. I think it's important to get that feedback, that comparison, because you're all living it, and it's important to see how the public view your work. So I appreciate that question. Do any other PCCEP members want to pose the public a question? Byron, go ahead.
Anybody down to finish this after a little minute after the public has their comment, or does we need comment on a little few other pieces, Frida? Or we made a deal that we're gonna save the rest for later? I'm just asking.
Yeah, with there being so many pieces that are left and seeing as the questions that are coming up, more ample time, another meeting will be needed to go through those final sections. So appreciate the urgency or the desire to like push through, but I think it's going to take another meeting.
We got a minute. We can do one more.
Yeah.
You're such a go-getter, Byron. But the PCCEP staff will definitely work to figure out another date in the upcoming weeks, and so we can get this finished. I know it's a very important to all of you, and again, as everybody has mentioned, there's a lot of appreciation for the hard work that's been put into the making sure that the bylaws are edited and very reflective of the work that you're going to be doing together moving forward. So we are now 1 minute away from closing. So I'll just go ahead and just appreciate all the members who came together to discuss the bylaws today. You did an amazing job. I want to thank my co-facilitator, Afrida, and all the public who came to participate and provide input. All of this is happening because of the love and care you have for this work. So just want to appreciate that. And all the PCCEP staff who come together to support you all. On that note, I'm going to close this meeting. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the afternoon. And
actually, if we could see the next slide real quick. So we just because there's been so much discussion of meeting notice, want to make sure that we do acknowledge our meeting next week. The community engagement subcommittee is meeting. I think they're going to be talking about some really interesting stuff. And we also have a full committee meeting on the 26th, where we will be talking about the status conference hearing coming up in August, amongst other things. So put those on your calendars. We will send out the notice to our email list as always, and you can find that on our website as well. So please get in touch if you have any questions at pcepinfo@portlandoregon.gov. I can put that in the chat. And yes, big thank you to you all, and we hope to see you at those upcoming meetings. So just didn't want to miss that.
Yeah, that's super important. Afrida, did you want to just say any last minute words in closing?
I think I wrapped it up beautifully.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our interpreters again.
Thank you to our facilitators and staff and interpreters. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you all. Good night.
Everybody have a good night.
Recording stopped.
Good night.
What a marathon.
This is everyone's favorite task.
Well, I know I got up at 2:30 this morning and I am so beat up. I am ready to just.
What on earth made you get up at 2:30?
I drive Lyft, and
oh,
that early morning ride is what I go get so I can have the whole day to do things that I need to get done. And so I had my wife's surgery.